While he was talking, and when he finished, I did what he suggested we do. And I didn't see a lot of you do it, although you did poke it out some. But if you could take out any color. Come on, everyone, take out a color. I'm going to check you if you don't take out a color. There, thank you, ma'am. Yes, you did exactly what he said to do. Smell that thing. Now, who among us can't remember being in absolute awe and captivated by a young child who, with just these 4 colors, not the panoply that Eric had, but just these 4 colors, and the creativity these 4 colors and a blank piece of paper can do. Happy little clouds. As he said, anyone can learn to paint. Anyone can learn to paint. So I guess I could spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to paint right now, but I'm not, because I can't paint worth a darn. But I do remember being at reunions when I was growing up and watching kids paint and watching the older folks sit over there and just sort of rock back and forth or sit on a bench, the picnic table, sometimes rickety ones. They'd sit on those, and they'd watch those kids because that's their future. And they watched the middle generation, which were normally the parents. Some of the parents were over there encouraging the creativity. Some of them were saying, no, Johnny, slow down. Don't hit her. You're not supposed to hit girls. And the parent walks away, the girl smacks the kid in the back of the head. Life's not fair. But anyway, I digress. But those were great days. Those were great days. And I agree with Eric. I think we have lost that. But it's about taking these crayons. I'm going to change my palette, first of all, because that would be a little bit cumbersome for me. So I'm going to have a different palette. This is our palette. When I say ours, it's yours. It's the community palette. And you'll notice that I'm putting it on with a little analog rubber band. That's to keep the digital world in check, because we've got to keep it in check every now and then because it is disruptive a little bit. This is a reunion. I talked a little bit yesterday at the Standards Committee about the sense of family one gets. Every year we come back, the sense of family we get. Monday night when some of the people were coming in for the standard session, they're hovering in the bar. Some had had 1 drink, some had a couple of drinks. But as new people walked into the bar, there were hugs. And they weren't air hugs of close acquaintances or friends. They were hugs of brothers and sisters, of people coming together with a common vision, a common mission, and a common purpose, who believed in something. Some have been doing this for 14 years, since 1997 and 98. They believe that together there is a synergy and a collaborative creativity that can change the way we do business in the electrical channel. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about 3 things, but you got to guess what they are. I'm going to use a puzzle for the 3 topics, and if you guess the puzzle correctly, I'm going to get you one of these little footballs. But you got to guess it correctly. This is an example. This is not part of it. This is not part of the table of contents. This is an example. So what's that first person doing? Feigning. Does anyone know the answer to that, by the way? What? Paint. Colors. And that guy just had a great dinner downstairs last night. He's full. Absolutely. Paint colorful. So now you understand how it's played. I'm going to take these next 3. Now these next 3 are the table of contents. This is what we're going to talk about, just a little bit. Can anyone guess the first one? Now yeah, you got the plus up there already. You all did this better than our staff did it when we were trying to go through these. And I can guarantee you, you're doing a whole heck of a lot better than what I was doing. I was going, that's what? Content. Oh, content. Got it. Exactly. How about that second one? little bit harder. We're going to tax you a little bit now. But if you smash something, you take the ash away, you got smart tech. Absolutely, because you had to know Virginia Tech first of all, and then a lot of people didn't know that that's Virginia. So you take or you take Virginia Tech, take away the Virginia, you got tech, so you got smart tech. Did he get a ball? Are we getting balls out there, Colleen? Don't forget giving these people balls. If you got the first two, raise your hand. There's one. Who got the content? Who said content first? Okay, there you go. All right, now this last one is a bit of a reach, but you can get it. You're going in industry. That little Bubba's center. Industry synergy. Perfect. Who got that? So, okay, so you got the synergy part. Here you go. Need a ball up here. All right, here you go, Suchin. Suchin, you collecting these dadgum things? You got two of them now. Okay, so those are the three things we're going to talk about. So let's first start talking about that first one, content. I will tell you we are absolutely obsessed with content. And for the last year, we've been working very, very hard with manufacturers to get the content that the distributors need to help in the wholesale electrical channel. Working very, very hard. We asked them because there was always the question of, well, what do you need? So we had to come up with something so it simplified it. Let's distill it down to the essence. What do you need to populate a website? So we came up with these things, a spec sheet or spec documents. You can see that one up there. Attributes. So you can, once you drill down and you get to a product level, now how do you search on products? And you need attributes to search on those products. So we need the attributes. We also know that you don't buy anything without seeing an image. Every one of you have websites without images on them. And you know how you get this as you look at that. Because you just went from an image to nothing. And it could be just a blank. Could be a blank with a little question mark in the middle of it, as if you couldn't download something from the internet. It could be anything you have in there. Image coming soon. That always makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Because I wanted to buy it today, not soon. And then, of course, a description. There's always an issue of commoditization of product. This is the opportunity for the manufacturer to describe the product as he or she sees fit, with the differentiators to draw people into that product. And if you look at if you have a good description, if you have a really good description, all you got to do is take out the commas and put them in different buckets, and now you have the attributes. So distributors can take a good description, turn it into a great description, work the words correctly so you do search engine optimization and drive people to a particular product. What a concept. It's a good deal. How have the manufacturers responded? I heard some people say, they're still not there. I will tell you there's a lot of them who are there. Because there are 32 manufacturers who have 75 to 100% of their stock and quick ship products attributed. And when I say that, they get a check mark. They get a check mark only if they have spec sheet, attributes, image, and description for each and every product. If they get 3 out of 4, that's appreciated. Thank you. And that'll be a help to distributors. But it's not going to populate a website well. So you got to have all 4. When you get 75 to 100% of those products from a manufacturer populated, you've got some rich, robust data. Got 19 of them who are 50 to 40, 74%. 15 at 10 to 49. Now that doesn't say that those who are below 10 are not working the issue very, very hard. Manufacturers are working it very, very hard. And they've got a lot of obstacles, as some of you in the Standards Committee I heard yesterday, on trying to get that done, but they're working to get it done. And as a result of that we went public with the banding, about 3.5 months ago, 3 times the content. Our intent was to recognize those manufacturers who are doing a great job, working hard to attribute the data, because they're demonstrating that they care, in my mind, that they care about the distributors and wholesale electrical as one of their primary channels to push product out to market. 3 times the amount. You got 4, these are the ones that are platinum. You got 4 of them that are 100%. Now, are they 100% every day? No, they're not. You want to know why they're not? Because oftentimes they'll populate data for new products and then try to catch up with the marketing content. In an ideal world, and I think they'll get there, when a product goes to market, that product manager will have the digital collateral material for sales and marketing at exactly the same time that they have the print collateral, and they'll actually be able to push the digital collateral out there before the print collateral, so you'll know a couple of weeks or a month in advance of what product's coming out, and you can develop your, and I'm talking to distributors now, your way of marketing that product and helping the manufacturer sell. So I'd ask you to do a couple of things. Distributors, I would ask you to do a couple of things for the manufacturers. 1, thank them. Even if you don't see them banded, but you know they're working it, thank them for working it. 2, I'd ask you to work with them to sell their products, because there ought to be some reward for what they're doing for you. And 3, I would ask you to work and use their data, because there will be a time in probably 6 months to a year where the manufacturer is going to come and start clubbing me and say, Bob, are the distributors using the data? Now you're on a precipice. Because if distributors don't use the data that the manufacturers spend a lot of resourcing to populate, they're going to stop. And my prophecy is that you will relegate yourself 10 years in reverse to a position of irrelevance, because those products are going to be sold. So populate the data, use the data, thank the manufacturers. We're supporting an AD affiliated distributor initiative to help populate the data. And with affiliated distributors, and I compliment and congratulate them on what they've done, because what they have done is they have stood up and said, as a group, we're going to put the purchase power of our organization and member companies to bear on this problem that, as David Starr mentioned, we've been doing this for a long, long time, trying to get this data populated. 11 billion. 35 distributors have invested, and I suspect that if you asked every one of those 35 distributors, they were populating data themselves. They were populating data from us, populating the data from trade service, populating the data from their own internal resources, populating data from the manufacturers. And you get all these streams inputting. Now, which one's true? Which one's real? Because now someone at the distributor level has got to make, for every element of that product, a decision on what overrides what field into their ERP systems. Enormously inefficient, and I'm talking to the choir now, and I apologize for that. And in Canada, how many Canadian, could all the Canadian people from Canada stand up? We got some tremendous work being done up in Canada, and I think they ought to be recognized for it, because what they're doing is they got together under the, thank you all very much. Look around now, because these folks are leading the charge up in Canada. They're leading the charge up in Canada. The Electro-Fed Canada, EFC, got together, and they formed a committee with us and member companies, both manufacturers and distributors, who have said, we got it. The distributor sent out an email or a letter email to the manufacturers. The manufacturers got it. So now you're sitting down at one table, manufacturers, distributors, saying, we got it, and we're going to work it. And they're working together to make that happen. So great work is going on up in Canada. We talked yesterday about some of the things that we're trying to do to help not cleanse the data, but help make sure that the data that the manufacturers are providing is good, accurate, robust information. So we developed a tool to help do that so that the manufacturers themselves, with their own self-motivated, self-guided, if you will, and under their control, can now look at the data. It's called supply chain analytics, and our subject matter experts can talk to you more about that. I'm not going to try to go into it in much depth other than say there are 3 levels of it, so you don't have to have a senior executive get down in the weeds to figure out what's going on, because they can look at a top line and tell you that you've got a problem there in URLs. Even though we send out to every manufacturer every 30 days a URL checker to make sure that there's something at the end of the URL. So it'll be a great tool. So executive overview, but you can also go down now to more mid-level or a little bit deeper dive on it, a little bit more of a drill down, so you can see what's wrong with that element. There were 5 elements in the first group there. Now you can drill down to each of those elements and take a different view and go a little bit more in detail. And for the data folks are going to be able to do a deep dive into it. And they can go right down to the item level and see exactly what's wrong. For there, you see it's and I can't read it. It's a type in that interesting code of NURPIC. Must end in a .bimp or GIP or a JIP or whatever. And if it didn't, then it's going to kick out as an error. So they can fix it. And they can also take a look at it in macro perspective and figure out what they want to fix first, then drill down to a micro perspective, and then drill down into it and work those issues. Okay, so now let me segue quickly to the second topic, which is, again, smart technology. Good pickup on that. And let's talk to you about some of the things that we're trying to do to make that happen, because even in our very, very short lifetimes, a lot of things have happened. Again, I always say we think we're so far behind, and we're really, really not. If you look at the baby boomers, that would be most of us in this group, although I will tell you there's a boatload of millennials in this group. So as we're all talking about trying to figure out how to bring in the new generation, I'd say y'all have already done it. You got a lot of millennials in there. I haven't a clue where I was back then. But you know where you are in there. And there's not that much of a difference in how you talk to people if you use the creative side of your brain. If you always put it on the left side, yeah, you might have some barriers, but then think right side, and you'll talk to them. People are people. They're human beings. You treat them as individuals. And then you got the Gen Zs, and people say, I still hear people worrying about the millennials. The millennials are here. We can't deal with the millennials because they exist. They are part of us. What we need to be thinking about are those Zers down there, because they're about 12, 13 years old right now. And in our working lifetime, they will become our consumers. They are truly the digital warriors. I've got a 6-year-old at home who doesn't use a computer. Well, she's not supposed to. She's supposed to read, write, pencil, all that stuff. No, she uses my wife's iPad and my old iPhone. Pretty cool stuff. So let's talk about that technology a little bit. 2006 was the first time Twitter started tweeting. Or tweeting. Tweeting or tweeting? I don't know. Facebook opened up. Facebook used to be sort of a closed group, used to be in college campuses and things like that, but now they're very, very open. And they did that in 2006. You had the e-readers. Can anyone read on a black and white screen anymore? Not very often. And BlackBerry, and I'm going to be gentle with that because there are a lot of Canadians here, so I'm not going to say anything more about BlackBerry. Or, yeah, those. Anyone know how many generations of iPhones there were? Are? 6. The 6 just came out, iPhone 5. How many have already ordered the iPhone 5? Yeah, everyone else wants to, I tell you that. 6 generations of iPhones, one every year since 2007. And every year, it fundamentally changes the way we handle information, the way we receive it, process it, use it, convey it, communicate it, buy with it. Every year it comes out. So just Apple alone has changed fundamentally the way we do business. And in 2010, we came out with the first iPad. Now you got iPad 2. I suspect before Christmas you'll have an iPad 3. And then the Kindle Fire. Kindle Fire set things on fire because it was totally different than the old e-readers of the past. So technologically, things are really happening, and it's causing that disruption. It's causing the disruption. It's a tectonic shift every time that new technology comes out. And I would tell you that from my perspective, if we stand like this, with our feet together, pretty much lockstep, not moving, and that ground starts to shake with that next tectonic shift, we're going to fall. So you got to keep your knees bent a little bit, keep your feet apart so you can keep agile. So you can keep agile. Disruption. We got to rethink. So here's the way we're trying to enable you all to stay ahead. And I'm not going to go into each of these, but if you look at the way it was back then in 1998, you had your distributors out there, your manufacturers, your retailers, your end users. They were all sort of out there doing their own little thing. Not much happening. And then the internet started to really kick up, and then all of a sudden the end users were able to go VFR direct, as I would say, to whomever they wanted to go to. They could do their own web searching. So how do you make sure that you have consistent information from manufacturer to wholesale distributor? You can do that with the IDW. Even if the data is bad or wrong, you can synchronize wrong transactional data as long as it's wrong in both places. One would hope it's right in one place or the other, then the other one can sort of clean it up. But you can't sync on wrong data, bad data. But then the manufacturers also want to get it out to retailers. And how do you do that? You can do it with the DMP, the data management platform. And you can also send it to your wholesale distributors at the same time. So you can parse the data and send it to whomever you want. Because there's always, in an environment of standards and in an environment of the platform, a set piece, there's always the one-offs. You could wish and pray that there weren't, but there always are. So you got to deal for that. So you got the DMP. And now we got the ISIM2 that we're working with Unilog. ISIM2 is an e-storefront. So now you can compete in that e-storefront environment. And data managed services, data services, if you will, to help make sure that the information is correct and it's robust and it's right and it can be packaged if you need help packaging it. If you need help attributing product, we can help attribute product. If you need help moving it from point A to point B or EDI outsourcing, we can do that. We're not trying to be a one-size-fits-all, however. I went too far. Yeah, because you saw with that last one, did you see those happy faces over there on those end users? Those Bubbas and Bubbettes are happy because they now are in control as they've always been. Okay, now I'm going to turn to the last one, which is industry synergy. And what I'm going to primarily talk to here is just briefly when we started off in 1999, 98, it was a very round world. We were solely focused on what's happening in North America, more specifically what's happening in the U.S. Then we started to look in Canada. Our board recently has given us guidance, started looking in Mexico and South America and places like that. We've always been looking at other areas of overseas because this round world that we started with, because we've reunited and we've rethought it, we now have a flat world. And that flat world is linked. That gap is bridged. The barriers are down because of the interconnectivity, the harmonization and alignment of schemas with the ETIM, the Electrical Technical Information. And even ETIM has evolved and morphed from just being just electrical to taking in other channels as well, other verticals as well. They've done that because, like you, they've changed and realized that there are no barriers even among countries anymore. There are no barriers within companies anymore. And all these folks that you're seeing that are going to populate that screen, and they're not all of them, they're just the ones that we quickly thought of off the top of our heads, are doing business internationally. And their companies want to, they'd like to settle on one standard, but a lot of their customers are using an ETIM, or a lot of their customers are using the UNSPSC, United Nations Standards Product and Services Code, from the U.S.-centric position, in UN position, on the other side. So we're trying to align both of those, and we're working with the ETIM folks very closely to make that happen. And they're excited about it. They are even more excited than we are, I think. And they're happy about it. We've broken the silos. As companies have merged and consolidated and expanded, if you will, so has wholesale distribution. I don't think there's a wholesale distributor here who just has what one would refer to as an electrical product. Some of you will have SKUs in your catalog that are newspapers because some of your customers want a newspaper. And you'll have a SKU for it, so you can control it, you can track it, you can move it. So it's no longer just electrical. What's up? What's next? I have no clue, but I will tell you that I believe we're about still, I feel a little uncomfortable that we're not there, even from the data content perspective of where we really need to be. Because BIM, if you talk to program managers and specifiers and folks like that, and people running these CAD systems and these architectural systems, they need building information modeling data. So they need BIM information. We don't have much BIM information. NEMA started to work an initiative with, for BIM, but it really got to be kind of convoluted and hard because everyone's got their own concept yet of what BIM really is and how you can deal with it. But I tell you, we got to wrap our arms around BIM. We got to wrap our arms around video. 52%, a study said that 52% of consumers become much more comfortable if they see a video on a product. And look at the number of videos that the manufacturers are putting out there today. Information on how to install, what a product really is and does. You can go into Nike shoes and see how they run in them, how they build them. Really pretty cool stuff. So you got videos out there that we have a place in the IDW for videos, but it's not populated very well. Not populated very well at all. Augmented reality. BMW has a program in glasses that when they're working on engines, it tells them they can read what they're supposed to do next for training. Isn't that pretty cool stuff for doing augmented reality on how you now can train from a manufacturer perspective or wholesale distribution perspective, how you can help the contractors install things that are new to them, all this technology that's coming out for home automation. Great stuff. And then you have the QR codes, and I think it was David mentioned it on the panel, you know, what he saw with the QR codes. Tremendous opportunity, and I have no clue. I have no clue what's next. What I do know what's next is that we together have an opportunity to reunite, rethink, and recharge. That's Reunion Tower in Dallas, by the way, if anyone wants to go down there and take a look at it. And I would hope that you do that. Because as you come to these conferences and you hear a guy like Eric, and you hear those great execs that came on the panel and talked to you, and you yourselves are in those same positions in your respective companies, you're what makes this happen. There's not an organization in any other channel like this. When you're painting your pictures, and take those crayons, draw what you think the future connectivity ought to be, the data flow that you would like to see. See if there's something in there that we can't actualize into a product, into a service, that can help transform the channel and take it to the next level. And when you're drawing your pretty little clouds, yes, we're computing in the clouds, so you draw your pretty little clouds, and when you're drawing those pretty little trees, those trees are anchored, their roots are anchored in standards. Because if you have an industry-wide standard, which you do, and you're the only one who does, if you have those standards, you can deviate from the standards because you know where that bottom line is. You know where the standard is, and if you go wrong, if you color outside the lines and it doesn't work out, you can drop back to the standard. If you color outside the lines and it works and it's wonderful, you change the standard if you want to, because now you've created something different. You've used innovation, creativity, left brain thinking or right brain thinking, overlaid a little bit with the left brain saying, does this make sense economically? Can we do something with it? But color outside the lines. It's really pretty cool. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a great conference. Enjoy yourselves. If there's anything that we can do to help you, and I've already had a couple of people who've brought some great ideas up, please let us know. Any of the staff, we are truly here to serve. Thank you all.